Price of land in southern Nevada is at a 7-year low. We'll have the details and what this means for other sectors.
And commercial.
Welcome back. I'm Jeff Gillan. The price of land, raw land in Las Vegas, is at a 7-year low. The Las Vegas Sun reports banks are taking back defaulted properties, causing values to plummet. The research firm Applied Analysis says the price per acre in the first quarter was $182,441. That's the lowest, by the way, since the first quarter of 2003, when the price was $172,500. Get this, prices have fallen 80% since the peak of $939,000 per acre. That was really in the boom in the fourth quarter of 2007. Applied Analysis reports that about 75% of all land transactions in the first quarter resulted from foreclosures. That's up 10% from the previous quarter. And Applied Analysis says these types of transactions were non-existent 2 years ago. And joining me now to talk about the impact of the price of land on other sectors, appraiser Charles Jack. Mr. Jack, great to have you on the program. Thank you for joining us. You know, I mean, let's talk about this whole land thing right now. I mean, the thinking is that we are so overbuilt that there will not be really demand for land in the foreseeable future. Your thinking on that?
Well, if you look at the actual transactions in the first quarter of 2010, you've actually seen a pickup in sales from banks or other stressed parties that we just didn't see in 2009. Certainly not the levels of transactions that we saw in 2005, 2006, 2007, but there has been a slight uptick from 2009, which was a very poor year in terms of volume.
Who's buying?
Well, opportunist speculators, special situation acquirers, people that need a specific location in a specific part of town with a very focused locational requirement.
But do you think that is this essentially, are we just going to be treading water for a while though? I mean, we're not going to see any sustained or really appreciable uptick in the near future, are we, in terms of purchases of raw land?
I think the pricing function will remain deflated. I think what we'll see finally with pressures on the banks by the regulators to unload properties that they've been carrying on their books for some time now.
You know, and when you talk about the supply of stuff that's already built that's sitting there vacant, do you have any sense as an appraiser in terms of how much supply we really have to kind of burn off, for lack of a better word, right now before there is also another real incentive to buy land, which is to build buildings? Any idea in terms of how long we have to get through the properties we've currently got built?
I believe it varies depending on if you're talking about the industrial, the retail, the office, the apartment market. Each one of those markets has seen a big spike in vacancies, and depending on how aggressive our population, our employment, and our household growth becomes will likely dictate how quickly that will burn off.
And everything goes back to the state of our economy and employment and that type of thing before that really starts to go up. We talked earlier about people buying, there are people out there buying some of this land. You know, hard money lending is essentially kind of dried up in terms of, the downturn in the market. So who's funding these purchases? I mean, if hard money lenders are kind of leaving the scene at this point, who's out there?
Most of the purchases are either all cash or, in some cases, seller financed.
Really?
Correct.
You know, we saw such an incredible boom here. It was extraordinary when you think that we're down like 80% in terms of the raw land prices from like $939,000 to where we are now, which is an incredible collapse of pricing. But, I mean, you're an appraiser. One of the criticisms was that appraisers really colluded with real estate agents and that type of thing to really drive the prices up back then. Do you think that you bear some of the responsibility for what we saw?
Well, I think the residential side of the industry had some real issues there. Appraisers have been crying like canaries in the coal mine for decades. When I was chapter president of the Institute back in 2000, we were making a concerted effort at Congress to note that there were people applying pressure for values, and just like any other industry, you can have bad doctors and good doctors. You can have bad real estate agents and good real estate agents. You can have bad mortgage brokers and good mortgage brokers. I don't think every appraiser, in fact a lot of them that I know that are still practicing today, probably are the ethical variety because they're still in business.
Right. Mr. Jack, we're out of time. I want to thank you for your time today. Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you, Jeff.
My pleasure.
The low price